Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For this tutorial, I'm going to show you this very unique technique. It's kind of a layered wafer paper marble. And I'm going to show you how I did that, but I also tied it all together by doing some vertical textured fondant and some edible daisies. So let's get right to it. So we're going to start by getting our cake ready to be decorated. Now this is a super tall double barrel 6-inch cake. There is a board in the middle with some supports underneath to carry the weight of the cake, and it is already filled and crumb coated, and we're just doing the final coat of buttercream. So this cake does have a decent amount of buttercream on it. The fondant is only on the bottom. The top is the wafer paper. So I've had two different elements going together on top of buttercream, and both of those can easily be removed if you want to just have a buttercream cake. Once you have presented it and you want to just cut it without all that extra stuff on it, you can just pull it right off. So I'm making a wrap with the wafer paper, and what I'm doing is I'm just using some wafer paper glue, which is scraps of wafer paper in a container, microwavable container with some water in it to cover up the wafer paper, but with a little bit of fill it up over the wafer paper. Put it in your microwave for about 30 seconds to a minute, just till it dissolves. And that's what I use to glue our two pieces of wafer paper together. One piece is not going to go all the way around the cake, so I had to add two together. And then I'm just cutting it down to the size that I want for the top. And I'm just using my quilting ruler is what that is. I get a lot of questions about that. That's just a quilting ruler. Now I'm just taking pieces of wafer paper and I am just tearing them. I wanted soft, irregular edges. So I'm just using my hands to do that. And I'm just placing them on the piece of wafer paper at the top. They're not attached at this point, just making sure that I have enough. Just kind of getting an overall visual of what I'm wanting. And at this point, I'm not so worried about having the edges completely clean because I'm going to go back and cut those off. And these are the colors I used. These are airbrush colors and they're metallic. There's black and blue and a silver, I believe. And all I'm doing is airbrushing the edges because that's how I'm kind of got that marbled technique or the look of it. I didn't want to necessarily airbrush the entire thing. A little overspray is okay in the center, but I wanted the edges to have more of the depth. Now they might, this first round with the first color, they stayed flat. And on these, they wanted to blow around. So I'm just using a tool to hold them down is all I'm doing there. And if they do, like that one did, just kind of start wrapping itself up a little bit, I did prevent or fix that problem by having I have some layers of wafer paper on the side. Not wafer paper, I'm sorry, parchment paper on the side. And once I get these all colored, I just kind of laid them in the parchment paper and put a weight on top and let them dry that way so that they dried flat again. That's a helpful little hint. If your wafer paper wants to curl up, just place it between two pieces, like I'm going to show you right here, of the parchment paper, or wax paper would work fine too. They're not going to stick to that. I didn't want to overlap them. Just make sure that you give them enough room so that they get flattened, but they don't lay on top of each other. And like I said, I just put a little weight on top of them, just like anything. Really, a board with a tub of fondant on top of that would be fine. And now we're just making our daisies, and I'm just using regular black fondant. I purchased it already with the color already in it. The deep colors with fondant I find are better to buy them pre-colored. The reds, the navies, the deep greens, the blacks, any of those deep colors, or purple, because they're really hard to get with food coloring. You can, but it's going to change the consistency of your fondant. to where it's going to be real stretchy and just not right. So I would suggest go ahead and purchasing those already pre-colored. It's well worth making that investment for sure. And these are 2 different daisy molds. I have to be honest, I believe I got these on Temu, and I would not suggest purchasing on Temu for the, I mean, you can, but I won't have a link for these exact ones. So you could look on Temu if you want to. You might find something similar, but once they're out, they're out. And once I just use cornstarch in the molds to get them to release, just push them in pretty good so you get all the details and then release them. And then I just use some luster dust and some silver luster dust and some Everclear. You can use vodka. You can use rejuvenating spirits. You can use even lemon extract and just brush those centers with that paint. And then I remove the dust with the fan brush because the cornstarch, you can just remove with a dry brush. And there I just rejuvenated my my wafer paper glue by adding a little bit more water to it. It had sat and dried up before I was able to use it to attach this, because I think this is the next day, actually. I think I left them to dry overnight. At least probably an hour would be sufficient. But I'm trying to use the glue sparingly because you don't want, again, your wafer paper to curl up or get too wrinkled. To prevent that from happening, once I got these all attached, then I did fold it up into some more parchment paper right here and put a board underneath and a board on top. I believe I do show you. Yep, there I show you. Board on the bottom, board on the top, and then I put a weight on top. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get our vertical textured fondant ready for the bottom. And to do that, I'm just using skewers. Just roll it down to about 1/4 of an inch-ish thickness, and then just line your skewers on top of it and just roll them out. Sorry, this is out of focus, but I wanted to show you that I just cut off the extra. And then I'm just attaching with a little bit more of that wafer paper glue onto the buttercream. Wrap it around. I'd left it long enough so that I could wrap it around and attach it to itself. And then I'm just cutting the fondant piece down to size. I kind of decided on the size of that, the height of it, once I got the wafer paper part done. And to attach this part, I just use some shortening. You can use water if you want to. That's fine too. I just like the shortening because you can move it if you don't have it where you want it. But you want to let that piece, that panel of fondant, sit to firm up so that you're not stretching it out of shape as you're applying it to your cake. Now just to buffer, that's not the word I'm looking for, but to blend the 2 different designs, because it's really 2 different design ideas wrapped into one design. So I have that line there where the 2 different products meet, the wafer paper meets the fondant, and I just use those daisies to kind of blend the 2 together. And now I'm adding some edible silver leaf to kind of emphasize the marbled lines a little bit more. And since we had the silver in the center of the daisies, I think that really goes together really well. And to get those to stick, I'm just use a little bit of piping gel brushed onto the wafer paper. And then I'm using my little tools, my tweezers, and then you can use a brush or like I have that little fondant hole poking or bubble popping tool just to so it doesn't stick to your fingers. It's a little easier to attach it that way. And just kind of arrange them wherever you want, whatever you see fit, however much you want. I kind of don't plan that out. I just kind of see how it's going together and let it lead the way. And then I added some more daisies to the bottom simply because I had more. I didn't want to not use them. So I hope you like this. I know this one's a little different, but you know what? We like those abstract modern cakes, don't we? So I hope you liked it. Hope you got something from it. And we'll catch you on the next one.